This is the conversation most managers never get to have. Not because it does not need to happen, because nobody around them cares enough to have it. When was the last time you had a real one-on-one with a team member? Not a performance conversation, not a write-up, not a redirect on the floor in the middle of a shift. A real conversation where you sat across from someone on your team and asked them how they were doing, what they needed, where they wanted to go, what was getting in the way of them being the best version of themselves in that role. When was the last time you did that? If the trust on your floor feels thin, if you walk in every day and the energy is flat and you cannot figure out why, no matter how hard you work or how many things you fix or even how many meetings you run, I need you to hear something. Disconnection on a retail floor does not start with the team. It starts at the top, and it almost always starts the same way, with a leader who has been handed a role that they were never prepared for, who was given keys and a title and a team and zero framework for what it actually means to lead people rather than manage tasks. So they do what unprepared leaders do. They focus on what they can control, the numbers, the schedule, the operational details that feel safe because they are measurable and because nobody can question whether you are doing your job when metrics are clean. And they pull back from what feels risky, the one-on-ones that might get emotional, the trust-building conversations that feel soft when they are targets to hit, the investment in a team member's character and the growth that does not show up in any report but shows up everywhere on the floor in ways you can feel before you can measure. And the team feels that pullback, not as a specific moment they can pinpoint, as a slow erosion of the belief that their leader actually sees them as a person worth developing. And when a team stops believing their leader sees them as worth developing, they stop giving their leader anything worth seeing. That is not attitude. That is the most human response to feeling invisible that exists. And it is showing up on retail floors everywhere right now because the industry keeps promoting people without preparing them and calling the fallout a people problem. And here is the part I need you to sit with. If any of this is landing close to home right now, that is not a reason to feel bad about yourself. That is a reason to pay attention. I've been exactly where you are. I know what it feels like to run the operations perfectly and still walk out at the end of the shift feeling like you did not actually lead anything. And I know what it feels like to realize that the disconnect you have been blaming on your team has been living in the gap between who you were handed the title as and who your team actually needed you to become. The realization is uncomfortable, but it is also the most important moment of leadership career because it is the moment you stop managing the symptoms and start dealing with the source. Here is what I know that I wish someone had sat across from me and said out loud a long time ago. Your team's disconnection is not a reflection of your commitment. It is a reflection of the leadership culture they have been absorbing. Because here is what happens when a leader operates from insecurity instead of identity, from survival instead of structure, from task management instead of genuine human investment. They macromanage without realizing because control feels safer than trust when you are not even sure of yourself. And the team member on the receiving end of that micromanagement does not feel supported. They feel doubted. And a team member who feels doubted stops taking initiative, stops bringing ideas, stops caring whether their performance reflects well on the person leading them. They avoid the hard one-on-ones because the conversation feels too risky when you do not have a framework for it. So development gets replaced with evaluation, and the team member who needed someone to invest in who they are becoming gets quarterly review and signature on the line instead. They miss the person right in front of them because the pressure of the role makes it easy to see a team member as a head count rather than a human being with ambition, insecurity, potential, a team that is present physically and absent in every way that matters, not because they stopped caring, because they learned from their environment that caring did not lead anywhere. That is not a team problem. That is a leadership culture problem. And leadership culture does not change with a new policy or new process or new set of expectations posted in the break room. It changes when the leader in the room decides to become someone different, someone who leads from security instead of insecurity, who builds trust before building expectations, who invests in the person before measuring the performance, who sits across from a struggling team member and asks what you need instead of why this is not done yet. The shift does not require a new title. It does not require more experience. It requires a decision that the way leadership was modeled for you is not the only way it could look on your floor. and a framework that shows you what the better version actually looks like in practice. Because you cannot pour into your team from an empty leadership identity. You cannot build genuine connection, trust, development on your floor where the leader is still trying to figure out who they are in the role. The work starts with you, and it starts with the decision that your team deserves a leader who was actually prepared for this. Even if nobody prepared you, you can build that now. The most powerful thing you will ever do in retail is not hit a number. It is develop a person who goes on to lead their own floor the way you led yours. That is legacy, and it starts the moment you decide that what you duplicate is worth duplicating. So here is what I want you to do right now. Think about one person on your team, not the one giving you the most problems, the one with the most potential you have not invested in yet. The one who came in ready and started to pull back. The one who has been waiting for someone to tell them they see something worth developing. Go have the conversation this week. Not a performance conversation, not a redirect, a real one. Ask them where they want to go. Tell them what you see in them. Make them feel like the investment is real because it changes everything. And when you are ready to build the full framework underneath every conversation like that one, the trust conversations, the development conversations, the one-on-ones that actually move people forward instead of just checking a box, that is actually what the discipline leader system was built for. Because you cannot retain what you never developed. And right now, your team is waiting to find out whether this is the floor where someone finally invests in them. So grab the discipline leader system right now, link in my bio. Drop a yes in the comments if you know your team needs more of you than you have been given them. Not because you do not care, because nobody gave you the framework to show it in the first place.